Good morning, my name's Tim Hunter-Rowe. I work at BP in the technology division, delivering wells and subsurface data platforms. This is the 101 session we do, Jan and I do at the beginning of every summit. It feels like we've done quite a lot now, so I guess it's useful. We keep coming back. So we do two. There's a business 101, which I'll do here. Jan will follow me immediately afterwards and do a technical 101. This is a very entry-level, very basic presentation about OSDU. Looking around the room, I see some very experienced faces here. So if you do have any difficult questions, look to your left or your right, and you'll see somebody with a lot of experience sitting there that you can talk to. So this is one of those meetings where they say there's no dumb questions. Ask them in this meeting. It's going to be basic stuff. Okay, let's get going. Let's start with something really basic. First question, what does OSDU stand for? Anybody? That's right, it's a trick question on a Monday morning. It doesn't stand for anything. It used to stand for Open Subsurface Data Universe back when it first was created. Back then, the subject matter was subsurface, but it's subsequently broadened out for wells and production and engineering and so on and so on. So there's a discussion, should we change the name to Open Energy Data Universe, something of that nature. In the end, the decision was made, we'll just keep it as OSDU. So you won't see it written out, or you shouldn't see it written out in the longer form anymore. OSDU is just OSDU. So what is OSDU? It's a consortium of companies from the energy and technology industry that have come together to form a forum and collaborate on some challenges we have around data. I should know how many people are in the forum. Looking at Steve. Just over 200, let's say. Just go for over 200. All managed under the broader umbrella of the Open Group, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So why have we all come together to do this thing? So the energy industry is going through a big transformation right now. We're addressing the energy trilemma. We're going through a big digital transition as we move a lot of our estate into the cloud. We're adopting agile work practices, and we're looking a lot at technologies like AI. I'm sure we'll hear a lot about AI this week, but we've got a few challenges that we need to overcome. The clicker being one of them. There we go. So the energy industry, the upstream energy industry has been around for decades and decades. And over that time, it's collected a huge amount of data. And the approach that's been taken over those years has generally been of the type that I want to use a piece of software to do some analysis, something of that nature. In order to use that software, I need my data to be in the format that that software can read. And that data will also need to go into a proprietary data system so it can be managed and accessed through the APIs or whatever approach was used for that specific application. That works fine. That vertical stack works fine. However, the next step of the workflow, I want to use a different application. And guess what? That different application needs the data to be in a format that it can read and in a data store that it understands. So what do? We transform all of the data over into the new format so that application can read it. Next step on the workflow, we have yet another application come along, and you get the story now. We create another copy of the data in another format. This is what's called the application-centric approach, and what we've done is created a whole bunch of data silos. Data silos have got a few issues that we need to overcome, we need to solve. One is cost. We'll talk about that on the next slide. But the one on here is it hinders sharing of data. The phrase I usually use now is that no company is an island in the upstream energy industry. I think it was the Energistics group that came up with the phrase that data flows through our industry like currency flows through an economy, which I quite like. And we need to make that flow of data as frictionless as possible. We share data with data acquisition companies, processing houses, with other operators in JVs, regulators, NOCs, NDRs, and so on and so forth. Very difficult to do this when all of the data is stored in different proprietary formats. The other issue that we're seeing here is that as we try and adopt more of the cloud technologies, what's actually happening is companies are just moving their data from point A to point B, and it means that we can't utilize some of the new technologies that are coming through. So what we want to do is be data-driven. So we talked a little bit about our data silos on the left there. We've got lots of copies of the same data. Makes it very difficult to have trust in that data. Nobody's quite sure which is the sort of the master copy, very difficult to track lineage. We need to employ lots of data managers to create ETL pipelines, extract, transform, load, to move the data from one silo to the next. The cloud costs are very high. We've got lots of copies of the same data. And ultimately, and this is where the sort of Lego metaphor comes in at the bottom there, the point in collecting all of this data is because we want to make business decisions. We want to combine the data to create insight. It's very difficult to do that when it's all of a different type. So the idea within the OSDU is become data-driven and standardize around a common language. So a common language for our data. So we all come together and we usually agree, on how we want to describe the different aspects of our data landscape. We want to have a standard set of APIs so that our applications can consume that data more easily. When we all speak the same language, it should be a lot easier to share data between our organizations. And why do we want to do this? This is sort of the point. This is my takeaway point probably from this whole presentation. The point of all of this isn't that we really like doing data management, it's we want to spend less time doing data management. The point is that we want our data freed up from our applications so we can choose best in class. We can use whatever app we want to do the particular piece of work. We want to be able to unlock some of the new technologies coming through, like AI. And ultimately, back to our Lego metaphor, we want to be able to stack, we want it to be able to combine this data together so we can make business decisions. That's why we're doing this. So, the point of the OSDU is to be data-driven. We want a common data language. We want an open source data platform in which to store that data. We want certified apps so we can have a plug-and-play approach to how we interrogate and analyze that data. Ultimately, I'll repeat it again, data management is low value. There's not a lot of IP or competitive advantage in the way we manage our data. All of the IP is the way we analyze the data. So how do we spend less time doing data management and more time doing analytics? So sorry, I'm rushing through these a bit, but this is quick. So this is a quick potted history as to how we got set up. Over on the left-hand side there, you'll see a few logos. These are not definitive. As I said, there's 200-odd companies, so we've just put a few to sort of illustrate. But back in, I think it was about 2018, Shell rang up BP and the other companies here and others as well. And the conversation went something like, the way that Shell collects its well logs, shoots seismic, how it manages its data, it's the same way BP does it, and Exxon and Chevron and so on and so on. So why are we competing in this space? There's no competitive advantage in this space. So why are we competing in it? Wouldn't it make more sense if we all got together and agreed on a common approach so we could collaborate instead of competing? But we knew we couldn't do this on our own. We needed technology companies and other friends to come along and help us. We needed cloud service providers to help us host this data and all the infrastructure. We need to do the analytics, the interpretation through the software vendors that you can see, and others. There's lots of software vendors. So we needed those guys involved, and we want them to be able to consume the data through the open APIs that we're developing. We needed the system integrators involved, so we have people to manage all of this infrastructure, all of this environments that we're setting up. And we needed academia to come along. Firstly, because the next sort of, they're the pipeline of talent that's coming through. But also because they do a lot of the research work that we're interested in. How good would that be if they had test data in an open source data platform with APIs that they could use rather than having to get all the proprietary stuff in? So all of these companies came together under the broader group, the broader umbrella of the Open Group. So the Open Group, what do? They set up conferences like this one. They provide some of the framework in which we operate. So we use Slack for asynchronous communication. They host all of the meetings that we use on WebEx. There's over 50, 60 meetings a week in the OSDU, so all of that goes through Open Group, and they provide, probably most importantly, the legal framework in which we operate. So make sure that we don't fall foul of any antitrust legislation, that sort of thing. So all of these companies under the Open Group come together to develop this new data-driven way of working. So when somebody asks, what is the OSDU forum actually doing? Think of it this way, it's doing two things. First thing it's doing is creating an open source data platform. So what does this mean? What it doesn't mean, and I've had this one a few times in BP, what it doesn't mean is there's not one single data repository somewhere in the cloud that everybody can access publicly. Data is very expensive and sensitive, so OSDU will be installed behind your own firewall with all the appropriate security pieces in place. What it is 200 companies coming together to develop software under the Apache 2.0 license, using agile methodology to release early and often. We release major and minor releases. The major releases named after planets. We're currently on Mercury. You'll probably hear a lot about the flight path to Venus. I think we're nearly at Venus. We must be almost in orbit about now. But we're getting very close to Venus. The minor releases we call milestones. And again, I always forget to check which milestone we release on before we do this. 26, I think. We're nearly on 26. Thank you. So the first thing we're doing is an open source data platform. The second thing the OSDU is releasing are standards. So generally these fall in two types. Data standards, a huge data definition committee that creates those, and a technical standard which was published recently that describes the way the platform works. I'm going to have to move through these quite quickly, so I'll skip this one and go straight into here. This is how the forum's set up. Open group at the top there, providing the legal and operating framework. The focal points underneath that. Each member company has one focal point. The focal points get to vote on things. Then we have sort of the board, if you like, the OMC, the management committee. I sat on here for the first one. There's 11 members in that, and those members are voted on by the focal points. So they change every 2 years. So if you're on the OMC, you have a 2-year term. Then you remember the last slide, I said we do two things. We do standards and we do a data platform. Think of the PMC on the left-hand side as doing the data platform, and the working groups on the right as doing the standards. You'll see the data definitions team on there. That's not all of the groups even. We couldn't fit them all on. There are lots. So very active in that group. Oh, that QR code will take you to a much better interactive version of this if you want to go and have a look at it. I'll skip that one. So, to wrap up, the OSDU train has left the station. This is a real thing. This is not an academic, theoretical exercise. The OSDU data platform is real. You can download it and install it on your laptop if you like. All of the operators are in the process of deploying and running workflows through OSDU. We're addressing all of the decades and decades of the application-centric approach, which I mentioned early on. And we're moving ourselves towards this data-driven approach. We're looking at interoperability, collaboration, and a much more efficient way using a common language. And I'll repeat my message from earlier. Why are we doing this? We're making our data easy to find and trust. I'm doing a presentation on that tomorrow. Quick plug, trust. We're looking for new ways to adopt technologies like AI as they're coming through, and we're improving the way we work. And the point, again, is we need to be able to use this data to make business decisions. We're working hard to be in a place where we can do that more easily. I'm rushing through now. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to Jan Howell.
Thank you. Am I on? Yep, perfect. Okay. So once again, seeing the people in the room, this is going to be even more down to earth. So any offensively difficult questions post this presentation, me and Tim already mapped out our escape routes. We will just run. So let's see. So once again, really down to earth. One of the questions we do get, what is the OSDU data platform? I get a bit nervous with those faces in the room, right? So I'm going to explain something really down to earth. Anyways, so the OSDU forum, it has two deliveries. So one is the OSDU data platform, which is the standardization on a technical interface, how you can interact with your data. The other one being the OSDU data definitions, which is basically when you interact with that technical interface, what do you get out of it? This is the schema structures, all that other stuff. So what I'm going to talk about now is the OSDU data platform. Now, it's inside the OSDU data platform, and this is the demystifying bit, it's basically a bunch of code. So most of it is written in Java, and there's some Python code in there as well. And let's see if we have, if you go to the community, this is the community page. And when it says OSDU Data Platform, behind that one, lo and behold, that is the code that actually comprises of the platform. And it typically could look like this. This is from the storage API. I have no idea what that code means, but this is how it looks like behind the scenes, and you shouldn't have to worry about it either. Now, the code in itself, it cannot do much, right? It's just code. So what we've done is to be able to implement this to physical implementation of something, somewhere you can run the code. It's created what we call a service provider interface, so that anyone can tap into this code and create their own implementation below it. And this would be the platform implementation. So you can also see some of the color coding here, that what the OSDU delivers is on the Apache 2.0, and this is where you get to the commercial implementations. And as you can see here, we have currently we have the Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and IBM Cloud implementations. So they basically, through the service provider interface, implement something where you can run the code. And as Tim mentioned, this is your personal space in your choice of CSP. And this is also why you could have any one of these and they will work the same. And I apparently have some auto stuff happening here on my animations here. Anyways, the final one is the community implementation. And this is the new one, where the community has said that, yes, we have these platform implementations, but we'll also provide one using only open source technology that you can deploy anywhere. This is the one that, in theory, you could deploy in a laptop if you have enough RAM, or in a CSP, or on-prem, or whatever. Now, having the implementation wouldn't help much. So how do you actually access the platform? So that's on the other end. This is where we then use APIs, which is then the technical standard where you can then talk with the platform beneath it. And this is where you put your applications. And when I say applications, you have some of the choices here where you have data loading, data quality, petrophysics. Whatever you do, how you want to interact, it's typical in this layer. Yes, for those of you who have sort of tampered around with OSDU, you will find Postman and all these things. At the end of the day, what all of them are doing, they're just talking with the APIs that make the functionality in the platform available. And let's see, if we go into the same link I had previously, and then let's see, we have here, these are this is the links we have on that side, and I just put them around a little bit on the, I think they're alphabetical there. So these are the services that are available, or the grouping of services. And if we look at them, for the core services, these are the available APIs. So this is where you typically have your storage API, where you interact, you read and write data. You have the legal service, schema service, all of these different things that basically enables you to have some core functionality in the platform. On the security and compliance, this is where you have the entitlements, legal policy and secret. Entitlements is how you grant access to both services and also how you grant access to data as such. You typically use these different groupings within OSDU. Legals for legal tags and some of the others. We are a bit on a time schedule. As you can see, I start speeding up here, and I feel the glare of Justin over there go like. So DDMSs, now these are one of the primary functions of DDMSs is to give you optimized access to the content data within your platform. So instead of having to load entire log files, if you go through the wellbore DDMS, you can sort of do a subset on the fly through the DDMS. And you have the wellbore, the seismic reservoir, and rock and fluid, all of them which should be graduated within the M25, if I'm not quite mistaken. Workflows, under the data flows, these are some of the access to some compute you can actually do within OSDU. So you have the manifest ingestion, which many are using to ingest data into OSDU. some parser functionality, and some conversion functionality. And you have so-called consumption services. Sometimes you need to optimize the way you actually access certain types of data. The only official consumption zone that comes with the platform is the geospatial consumption zone, which basically creates a geospatial index of your geospatial data. So you have more optimized access to searching and doing your mapping magic on top of your data. Let's see. OSDU data platform. I do really get so, and this is the totality of the thing. So this is once again what I talked about. All of the different services in the middle there, the applications on top, and the implementation at the bottom. As mentioned, we do releases. This is a live thing. It's not that we have an OSDU data platform, so it is continuously evolving. And this is through these releases and milestones. And at M25, this is the current state. I color-coded it a little bit, where we have 3 levels of maturity. The graduated ones are the ones that are considered ready to be used theoretically in a production environment. Incubators, not that much, and sandbox, not even that much either, right? So, but I also want to emphasize that the being involved, even down in the sandbox, it's really critical for the survivability of the platform. So we really encourage people to start tampering around with the stuff in the sandbox, because this is how you influence how the platform should work. So tap into those special interest groups and the different work groups to work with those to see what's happening, what's coming, and how you can influence it to better suit your workflows, to make sure that your needs are covered. Currently, release 3, milestone 25, as mentioned, Mercury. And one of the big things changing for milestone 26 and the Venus, which is then going to be release 4. If we look at the bottom, I have a beautiful animation where currently there is a big focus on all this to be able to work and sort of be sanctified before we do a new release. From milestone 26-ish, I guess we put the ish on in there, it's going to be the Venus, release 4, and then when that blue box, the community implementation, is done, then that milestone is done. And then they probably already started implementing it, but it sort of decouples the responsibility of where do you want to do all the checks. That was a thank you. And the only thing I want to do otherwise is on this Friday, if you're still here on Friday, there's going to be a boot camp where we're going to go through this in a lot more detail and with hands-on, where you can sort of tap through some Python Jupyter notebooks. You don't have to, we have a beautiful play button, just click on it and some magic happens behind the scenes. You can expand it and look at what actually happens. So on Friday from 9 to 2, so feel free to join up on that one. And then it was, if we have, do we have time for questions even?
Yes, we do. We did start a little late. We are looking to wrap up around 9:50. We've got about a good 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. Tim comfortably just sitting there. Yeah. He's going to do questions now. So it's, and remember, offensively difficult questions with regards to who's actually sitting in this audience right now. We're just going to run. Okay, questions? Oh, you just want coffee, right? So you heard Justin said nobody can leave until this is over, and then oh, and no offensively difficult ones. Oh, there's more? Oh. Tim is on standby as well. Whoa.
Okay, well, I just wanted to give you the opportunity, since OSDU now is becoming more mature. So
this maturity curve for actually use and consumption, and just kind of what are the highlights for where we are in the OSDU platform.
Do you have something on that one, or? Because I think everything is exciting with OSDU, so I'm not very objective. I'm very subjective. But yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Good question. For me, so I'm another plug. So I work in a group with Scott Kimmel. I don't know if Scott's here. Called Capability Portfolio. One of the things that group's trying to do is have a look at how we really align the output from OSDU with real business workflows. So for me, that's exciting. I think there's a huge amount of work gone in. There's a tremendous amount of capability in there within the platform, functionality, a large number of data schemas, data types already covered. For me, the exciting thing is how we pull all of that together to actually solve sort of real-world problems, actual business flows, workflows. That would be my answer.
Fantastic answer.
I'm Troy Hawks. I'm kind of new to the OSDU world as far as a contributing member. I'm not a coder by any stretch. I'm a seismic guy. But I'm hearing APIs and coding and new releases. And is all this stuff backwards compatible? Because if OSDU is changing things and APIs have to be able to communicate, applications developing so they can talk to it, it's always changing, so it's a moving target. So all these coders who are creating applications are always going to have to adjust and, adapt.
The best person probably to answer that question would be whoever leads the PMC. Oh, Eric, there you are. Unfair. Okay. Okay. I don't know the answer to the question. I know that we support multiple versions of APIs and data schemas. They aren't just shut off when a new one comes out. So you can use whichever version you like. I don't know how far they go back in terms of compatibility. We won't be able to support all of them indefinitely, of course. No software company does that. But there is an amount of backwards compatibility within the system. Sorry, I don't know any more detail than that.
Hello, Glenn Edwards from BP with Tim. Relatively new to being aware of OSDU, about a year of engagement. Is the difficult question, Tim, you can't answer, because I think I know your answer. Jan, have a go. There's a lot of people in this room. What do you need to make the OSDU project succeed even faster? Is it from this room, or is it from people who aren't in this room, and these people need to go and ask or tell or evangelize, however you want to say it?
Did I hear my name in there somewhere? Yeah, it's a big job, right? So it's, as you say, evangelize and collaboration. Was it you that used the term collaborative advantage?
No, I stole that from somebody, EAGE.
Yeah, EAGE.
Collaborative advantage.
Yeah, because I think I like that one. So it's basically creating this safe space where you can work in the non-competitive space and actually get things done, and actually get people to get together to see what does it take. And then from there on, know when you go into the competitive space and leave that to the competitions, so that the wheels can keep on turning. But it's hard, yeah. And it takes a lot of trust, a lot of evangelizing, a lot of teaching, and a lot of, I would say, experimentation. Don't be afraid to fail. In Equinor, we have this, at least I have this mantra about get out of the PowerPoints as quickly as possible, right? A plan is good, but you just start doing something, and you'll quickly find what breaks and what doesn't. So get stuff done, get data in there, get data consumption on top of it, and see what works and what doesn't.
Any more questions?
Enabling escape route 1. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you.